Hi everybody, I'm Julie Lavoie, and I'm going to talk about analyzing rap lyrics using Python. So just a warning, this talk has swear words in it, like a lot of swear words, and some depictions of violence. Most of them are censored, some of them are not. I won't be offended if you need to leave right now. So I really love hip hop. 2 summers ago I lived in New York City to attend hacker school. New York City is the birthplace of hip hop, the birthplace of rap. I've done some DJing, I was breakdancing for a while, I'm also a programmer. I love hip hop because it has really great beats, it's good for dancing. But as a woman, I have issues with some of the lyrics. So I kind of warned you about this word. And so here's an example of lyrics by a song called Goldie by A$AP Rocky, which I won't say out loud. And so as a programmer, I was curious, can we quantifiably measure sexism in lyrics? Like, could I, in theory, write a program where I fed in lyrics from like one rapper versus another rapper, and it would tell me like, this person is like more sexist than this other person? So, I mean, this is obviously kind of a complex question. So as a sort of like first approximation, I thought to myself, well, maybe let's start by counting which rapper uses the B word most frequently. Just so nobody goes through the whole talk being really confused, I'm going to say it once. By B word, I mean the word bitch. And so, okay, well, if we want to talk about this, we need rap lyrics, right? And so fortunately for us, there's a website called Rap Genius, which is like a Wikipedia for rap, which has like most lyrics for most rap songs, where people can go and like annotate the songs for meaning. There's no API, so we need to scrape. And so initially I started out with getting lyrics by about 32 artists from about 50 to 150 songs each. I tried to get a mix of like East Coast, West Coast, Dirty South rap, male, female, black and white rappers. It's obviously kind of skewed in favor of black male rappers because that's just who most rappers are, for a total of 2,700 songs. And so this is for my friend Dave, who's like, hey, I'm super white. What is this whole East Coast, West Coast, Dirty South rap thing that you're talking about? So here's a semi-gratuitous 2-minute history of rap. It's not completely gratuitous because different styles of rap evolve from different contexts, and the lyrics and the subject matter are different. So it is actually relevant to the scraping we're going to do. And so rap started on the East Coast in New York City, which is the birthplace of hip-hop in general and other sort of hip-hop art forms like graffiti, DJing, breakdancing. And what you basically need to know about East Coast rap is what's important about it is a sense of verbal cleverness and virtuosity. Artists that you might know from the East Coast are like Jay-Z, Biggie Small, Missy Elliott, A$AP Rocky, Wu-Tang Clan. And I brought you a sample so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. This is a song called Where I'm From, which is like some really old Jay-Z. So, sorry, I didn't like do this before.
I'm from where the beef is inevitable, summertime's unforgettable. Boosters in abundance, buy half-price sweater new. Your word was everything, so everything you said you do, you did it. Couldn't talk about it if you ain't living. I'm from where niggas pull your card and argue all day about who's the best MCs, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. Where the drug czars evolve and thugs are at odds, at each other's throats for the love of foreign cars.
And so you can kind of notice the beat is somewhat repetitive. It's basically just like one sample like looped over and over in the background. And the lyrics are really the focus of the song. I'm gonna skip over this. This is just my favorite verse in like all of rap from that song, but I'll skip over it for now. And so rap started on the East Coast, but it quickly spread to the West Coast, to LA. In the beginning, there was a lot of jealousy between the coasts, basically because East Coast rappers refused to recognize that West Coast rappers could be any good. So there was a lot of feuds like between the coasts, like different shootings, which you might have heard about. And so the thing that you sort of want to know about West Coast is a big current to come out of that is gangster rap. And gangster rap kind of evolved out of that. Not all West Coast rap is gangster rap, it's just like a big current to come out of there. And it came out of the situation of, in the 80s, crack, cocaine hit the inner cities really hard. And it generated a lot of violence in terms of people committing crimes to be able to afford the drug, gangs fighting with each other to decide who got to sell the drug in a particular area, and the police response being brutal to the point of being militarized. So I saw this little video where basically in South Central LA, if the police thought that your house was a crack house, they wouldn't just like knock on your door and like arrest you, they would actually like ram down your house with a tank. So obviously people were upset, right? Like I would be. And so gangster rap kind of came out of the situation of people saying, well, it's really nice that we have this like style of music that's about like dancing and having fun with our friends, but our lives are terrible. Like we're forced to sell crack to survive. Everyone we know is dying young. All around us, like people are poor. We don't really have any hope. There's so much violence, and this is what we want to talk about. And so here's a sample from a song called "Straight Out of Compton" by a band called NWA, which I'm pretty sure you've probably heard before. So you can notice right away, like the song is quite aggressive. The lyrics, I'm not sure if you can make them out, but they're definitely a little bit more violent. A cool fact about this song is the initial producer is like Dr. Dre, who's like, initially like involved in this music that's talking about these themes of despair and violence, and Beats by Dre sold for like $1 billion, and now he's a billionaire now. So good job, Dr. Dre. That's pretty cool. And so examples of West Coast artists, these are not all gangster rap artists, but from the West Coast. They're like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, which we talked about, NWA, Tyga, Kendrick Lamar. And so the most recent current to come out in rap is called Dirty South, and the substyle called crunk and trap. I'm going to focus on those because they're the most likely, like if you go to a club tonight where they're playing rap, that's most likely what you're likely to hear. Well, I guess in Montreal, I'm not sure about this, but and it's definitely the most club-oriented style. And so contrary to the other styles, the emphasis is really on the beat and creating a sense of energy and kind of like getting hyped up. The lyrics are somewhat secondary. A lot of times they're a little bit unintelligible. And it's become really popular in clubs just because if you go to a club, you don't really want to listen to like complex poetry. You kind of just want to like get into a good feeling with your friends, get drunk, like have a good time. And so examples of Dirty South artists are like Lil Jon, Lil Wayne, 3 6 Mafia, T.I., 2 Chainz, Outkast. And here's a sample of a song called Bustin' Jugs by Gucci Mane.
My mama say the neighbors think I'm selling drugs. I told my mama chillin', then gave her a dose. I turned the stove on, then I gave mama a hose. Now when these niggas re-up, they re-up with us. You just another damn Jew. Bitch don't even know it, she done met the damn plug. Chew so good. Bitch don't even know it, she can lead the damn hood.
Whoa, okay, sorry, crap, what did I just do? Okay. I drank like so much coffee this morning because I'm not a morning person. I didn't want to miss my talk. I feel like I'm gonna go through my whole talk in like 7 minutes. It's just gonna be over. And so I guess about this song, what you can notice is like, it's kind of hard to really make out what he's saying, right? Like the lyrics almost like form a beat in themselves. I super love this song, but it took me, like I actually had to go look up on Rap Genius what the actual lyrics were. And so, okay, so that's the end of like the gratuitous history of rap. There's actual coding in this talk, don't worry. So what we need to do next is we need to get some lyrics. And so the rest of the talk is going to focus on 4 things. First, we're going to download some HTML files. Then we're going to extract lyrics from the HTML. We're going to count the number of Bs, which is what we were looking for in the beginning. And then we're going to do some more stats. And so downloading files, how to scrape. Scrape is not like having an API where you just kind of look up in the documentation the information that you want, you make your function call, you get the info. It's kind of very trial and error. Like every time you have to look at the structure of what you're trying to scrape, and it's just always messy, right? And so if we look at the structure of Rap Genius, we see that for each artist, there's an index page with a list of songs. And so here's the page for A$AP Rocky. You see there's like a title, there's a picture. I'm not sure why it's a picture of a skeleton of his face, but anyways. And there's like a list of songs. And so if we click on one of these songs, we see that like each song has a page like this. And again, you see there's like a title, there's a bunch of widgets, like stuff that's kind of irrelevant. And then you see the lyrics. So if we do a view source on this whole mass, we get about 1,500 lines of HTML, of which we care about 40. So somehow we have to like extract that out of like this giant mess. So that doesn't seem too hard in the sense of like Python has libraries like beautiful soup and URL lib or requests where beautiful soup does scraping, URL lib and requests like do web requests. So you say fine, just like go through that list, get all the URLs, like go through them one in turn and just get the lyrics, and like that seems pretty straightforward, right? Except that doesn't actually work. And so what happens first is we only get 20 files for each artist. And so this is kind of a problem because Jay-Z probably has more than 20 songs, for example. So what's going wrong? AUTOSCROLL is like such a big problem. And so if we actually look at the real page, the first problem that we see is AUTOSCROLL. And so if you don't know how AUTOSCROLL works, it's to prevent this problem of like, say Jay-Z has probably 300 songs. You probably maybe care about the first 5. And so instead of like loading 300 songs, giving you like a huge page load time for no reason, it just loads like the first 20. And if you care enough about Jay-Z to go down, then it'll load the other 20. Except it's really annoying when you're dealing with problems like scraping and you actually really want all the data. And so AUTOSCROLL is AJAX. So it seems like what we might be able to do is like load up something like Firebug or Chrome Dev and basically see what URL the AJAX request is hitting, and then maybe say, okay, let's just call that, like bypass the browser and just like call that ourselves, right? Sorry, not bypass the browser, but just like call that URL directly. And so if we actually load up the console and find out what this URL is, it is basically this enormous, disgusting mess. But that's already, it doesn't seem too bad in the sense of like, for example, you see it's passing a parameter called pagination equals true. So you're like, all right, fine, let's like say pagination equals false, give me all the songs. Except that doesn't seem to work either. It basically like ignores that parameter for some reason. The beauties of the web, right? And so you're like, okay, fine. Then maybe you see there's a page parameter as well. So you're like, maybe you could iterate in a loop and do like page 1, page 2, page 3, but then you somehow have to split this URL and like kind of iterate. Except then you sort of notice, like for example, you see like there's the ID for ASAP Rocky, but there's also a numerical ID. So now for each artist, we'd have to figure out what this numerical ID is in their database, and that's kind of annoying. And so this is kind of when you want to take a step back and sort of think, what is important for something to be perfect versus something to be done? And this is just something that I want to tattoo to the hand of like every computer scientist I know, because I think that everyone, including me, loses track of this all the time. And in this case, you know, was it really that important? Was our goal to write the best scraper of all time, or was our goal to get some rap lyrics, right? So this is, you know, it's not that important that the whole thing is perfect. So in the end, what I did is I just used a Firefox plugin, which sounds kind of like a defeat for a programmer, but basically I went to the page for the artist, I did like scroll, I clicked download them all, I got all the songs. I did this 32 times, it was super boring, it took me half an hour, but I'm done. Versus if I was like still trying to like craft the perfect regex to like extract my parameter or something, I'd probably like still writing it now because it would have bugs and it'd be really annoying. And so, okay, so where we are now is now for each artist, we have a directory with a bunch of HTML files. And now what we need to do is turn that HTML into lyrics. The tools we can use, in Python we have a screen scraping library called Beautiful Soup, which does that and does HTML parsing as well. And then we have another like pretty sophisticated tool called Pattern, which does HTML parsing and is also like a natural language processing toolkit. What I found out in secret when I use it for work for some other stuff is actually it uses Beautiful Soup underneath, but like an old version, so then it's just confusing. But both of them are good. In the end I use Pattern because I use it later for other stuff. And so at this point, it's not too hard. Like basically, all the lyrics are in a div with a class of lyrics, so we can basically just like say, give me this thing. And using Pattern, it's basically just 6 lines of code, including opening the file and printing it in Python. Basically, you open the file, you read it, you just read it, you domify the thing. You say, okay, give me the div with a class of lyrics. Plain text like takes out new lines, a bunch of like boring stuff, and then you print it, and there you go. We have like the first 3 lines from the song Goldie by A$AP Rocky. So we've gone from things on the web to things on our computer that we can now use. And so counting bees, which is what we were trying to do in the beginning, basically for each artist, we're just going to count each file, record the total. Here's how to do it for one file in Python. It's pretty much just a regular expression matching. And then we want to average it over the number of songs. This is to make up for the fact that, like, say, Jay-Z has a lot of songs and Queen Latifah doesn't have that many songs, so that's why it's important to average. And so results. Rappers are using the B word on average twice per song, which is kind of interesting. And so the best rappers, like less than once per song, we had Jay-Z, Missy Elliott, Wu-Tang Clan, Drake, Outkast, Queen Latifah, a bunch of other ones. I was kind of surprised by Jay-Z and Kanye in the sense of I don't really think of them as having like that much respect for women, apart from like Beyonce. And some of the women like Queen Latifah and Missy Elliott, I was happy to see like they weren't like calling women bees all day long. And then some socially conscious rappers, I was glad to see it was kind of in line with their politics. So 1 to 3 times per song, you had rappers like T.I., Biggie Small, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, and I was quite surprised by Biggie and Eminem, and I'll talk about them more in a second. And so, getting kind of bad, 3 times or more. We had like Lil' Kim, Foxy Brown, Tyga, NWA, Nicki Minaj, Snoop Dogg. I was somewhat surprised by the women. So Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown are like female rappers, if you don't know them. So, and they were amongst the worst, which kind of surprised me. And then, basically, the worst of everyone was Lil Jon, who is so bad that he just gets his own category. And I was not trying to like make him look bad or anything, but this is an actual publicity picture. This is a legit picture of him. And so Lil Jon, I'm like, yeah, you need to learn some new words, Lil Jon. Like, it's getting kind of hardcore. Yeah, exactly. So just wait, there's Lil Jon in this talk. So is this a good metric for sexism? Like thinking back to like our original question. So one thing to think about is artists like Biggie Small and Eminem that had like very violent lyrics towards women, that had like songs about like killing them, assaulting them, kidnapping them, raping them, score relatively low, like so about 2 to 3 times per song. And so why is that? And whoa, what happened to that slide? Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, it's not me, it's CSS that has issues. I'm not a front-end developer, man. I don't know what's going on. So, well, we can sort of look at these lyrics by sorry, I'm so distracted by CSS, but we can look at these lyrics by Lil Jon and Biggie Small to get some idea. I'm not going to say these out loud. This is why I warn people about violence at the beginning of the talk. But like the first thing you can notice is that for Lil Jon, can you actually read that? Okay. I needed to bleep out a bunch of like stuff because he's swearing. And arguably what Biggie Small is saying is like much worse, but like he's not using any swear words while he's saying it, right? And so let's think about this. So Biggie Small and Eminem are kind of recognized amongst the greatest rappers of all time. They're really, man, what's up with my slides? This is messed up. So I'm using slides.es and I think it's like not loading the CSS properly. Okay, anyways. So they're kind of known for like their great lyrical talent. They're very clever. Biggie Small in general is known as one of the greatest storytellers in the history of rap, if not the greatest storyteller. And so I brought you some samples so you could like compare the styles between Biggie Small and Lil Jon. I really hate Eminem, so I'm like not playing any of his music. Oh, somehow, okay, sorry about this, CSS guys. And so here's a song called Party and Bullshit by Biggie Small.
Niggas wanna front, who got your back? Niggas wanna flex, who got the gat? It ain't hard to tell, I'm the East Coast overdoser. Nigga, you're scared, you're supposed to. Nigga, I toast you. Put fear in your heart. Fuck up the party before it even starts. Is he drunk off a Henny and stuff? Or some brand Nubian shit beating down punk? We party up that bullshit. That's that. We party up that bullshit.
I'll play the Lil Jon right away just so you can compare.
Ladies and gentlemen, hey, 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 I don't know about you, what? But I came to party tonight, yeah! If you with me, what? Put your hands up right now! Put them up, put them up, put them up! Hey! Drinks up high! Every time I hit the bar, shot, 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 shot!
That's Lil Jon. Yeah, I apologize what's going on with the slides, I'm not really sure. Sorry? Command minus? Let's see. Nope. Now it's like smaller and still wrong. Okay. Joe. Well, sorry. I'll try to talk clear to make up for the slides. And so you can kind of see a little bit what I was talking about before about East Coast rap versus the South. Biggie Small is very famously from the East Coast, and Lil Jon is from the South. You can kind of see like Biggie Small, like the focus is on what he's saying. Like he's talking about a party where he's with his friends, and he kind of wants to talk to girls, but like people are fighting, and it's getting in the way of him talking to girls. So he's trying to break up the fight, and like it's like he's really good at painting a vivid picture. Whereas Lil Jon, he's kind of talking about doing shots, I guess. I don't really know. But you can sort of see if your goal was to do shots with your friends, you'd be like really excited by that song, right? And so it kind of seems like rappers like Biggie Small and Eminem, maybe they just have like more vocabulary to describe worse things. And so it kind of suggests that using like a word like the B word or like another derogatory term for women is not really a sufficient metric for sexism. And so you know, at this point we're like, what do we do next, right? And so a good thing to do when you're lost and you have some, like you're trying to do some data analysis is maybe just like play around with the data and see like, are there useful patterns that you can exploit to kind of, you know, see what's going on. And so what I tried to do next was, I thought, well, here's an interesting question. Like, well, what are the 20 most common words in rap? And this is where I really started falling in love with pattern, because it's basically 3 lines of code. Essentially, I'm just compiling the artist documents into like just one piece of text. Then I'm turning it into a pattern document. I'm excluding certain words, which I'll talk about in a second. And then I'm just saying to pattern, like, just give me the top 20 words. And that's like 3 lines of code. And here are the 20 most common words in about 3,000 rap songs. This is automatically generated, so I apologize if I didn't like censor out certain words. And so basically the top words are like the N word, the N word plural, the S word, the F word, it's like all swearing. The B word, time, love, wanted, money, life, tell, baby, gotta. Another word, real, girl, hit, and B's again. There's a problem with the plural, which I'll talk about in a second. But I feel like this kind of, to me, does feel like the 20 most common words in rap songs. Like, I feel I could kind of write like an automatic generator and probably have like a kind of crappy but plausible like rap song. Like, not a good one, but like one where you would believe it, right? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about issues that I had in parsing rap versus other texts. I have friends that have done this like similar analysis on like French literature and things like that. And they had like, I had issues that they didn't. And so for example, one concept is like the idea of stop words that are basically words that are so common that you don't really count them. So like the most common word in English is like the or it or words like that. And they don't really matter to us because it means nothing to say the most common word in your text is the, because it's the most common word in like any text. But rap has a lot of slang, so we needed to add like new stop words. And so I had to like start counting out words like ya, them, yo, ha, come on, that, like words like that. And then another interesting thing was like nicknames. And so rappers often refer to themselves by nicknames. So like Jay-Z talks about himself often as Hove, Eminem is like Slim Shady, Kanye ZZ. And these come up so often as well that they need to be added to the stop words. So in the case of like Jay-Z, for example, his like Hove was one of the top 20 words that he said. It's also common to have like guest rappers in a song, or like just have many different rappers in a song in general. And so in the lyrics, what you see is like a name, a verse to like associate the verse with the rapper. And for example, Wu-Tang Clan, which just has like a lot of members. Wu-Tang SLANG, okay, it's like a new band. The top 20 was basically all the names of the members, almost. So I had to like take those out. And so one interesting thing that came out of that is, one thing I looked at, it was how often do people say the N-word. And for Eminem, it was non-zero, and I was kind of taken aback by this because I thought, wow, I feel like that would kind of end his career, right? Rightfully so. But I was like, how does that happen that it's non-zero? So I went to look in the lyrics, and what happened was they had a guest rapper that was black, and he was the one who was using the word. And so another issue was stemming. So stemming is the process by which you get like apple to count with apples, or like run to count with running. But it has problems with slang. So for example, in this case, I'm trying to get it to stem hose, but it thinks I mean garden hoe. So it doesn't like count them really properly together. And so I just wanted to make sure nobody thought I was like trying to make fun of slang. And so I wanted to briefly say something in defense of slang. People often associate with kind of like a low form of language, which I really don't agree with. Because I think it's like really linguistically creative, and often it like cuts to the truth of situations in a way that like more like proper language doesn't. And so I think really good examples are expressions like haters gonna hate, which like everybody knows. Like you can kind of explain what that means, but like none of it says that as well as really haters gonna hate, right? Or like we've been done. Again, is kind of like saying, well, I'm like so sick of this situation and you don't even realize and you're sick, but I've been sick for a long time. And it's kind of like, you can say that, but it doesn't express it as eloquently. So I just want to be clear that I think slang is like actually really interesting and not like kind of less than any other way to speak. And so, okay, so to go back to like analyzing text, possibly what's maybe more interesting even than like what all the artists are saying that's the same, what makes one artist different? So for example, what is Biggie Small saying that like not all the other people are saying? And so this is where like pattern is again, I thought really cool. So basically all I do is I take the 20 most common words and I add it to the list of excluded words. So here you basically see I'm just like getting the common words, I'm adding to the excluded words, I'm doing the same thing as before, and then I'm like saying, give me the top 20 words. And so the top 20 words for Biggie Small are like mad, the F word, D, head, mofo, hose, black, the F word, something, die, smoke, play, beef, daddy, hard, day. So kind of like a little bit depressing words, right? And then for Eminem, there's the F word, which is like his top word. Little, shady, which that's like a nickname that needs to be taken out. Boy, so the F word, boy, see the F word again. Boy, gonna, D, feel, mean, mother, people. So again, like words that are kind of sad. And so yeah, just like a lot of like sad words. And to compare like a group like Tribe Called Quest, which is kind of a little bit more about like African pride, about like dancing, like it's from like the early days of hip hop. You see that they have like quite different words like start, people, beat, brothers, try, rhyme, stop, black, move. So that kind of like that feel a lot more about like dancing and music. And so if you had to like pick a universe to live in, I would definitely prefer to live in the Tribe Called Quest universe than the Biggie Small or Eminem universe, right? And another interesting thing that came out was socially conscious rappers. For all of them, the word people was essentially their top word, like once you took out the common words. And so Dead Prez, you saw the top words were like people, black, war, ready, world, white, game, gonna, change, police, radio. So definitely like words associated with politics, right? And Immortal Technique, like another group, people, world, war, God, America, mofo, government, revolution. So again, like words really associated with politics. You can see it's kind of different than what like Eminem is saying, right? Like even if you didn't know the artist. And then finally, Talib Kweli, the same thing. Like people is the top word, black, try, deliver, music, game, hard, hood, hot world. Which I find, yeah, I just find that like really interesting. And so what I'm currently doing now is the fact that like different, like say someone like Eminem has really different words that he's using than say someone like Talib Kweli, I started looking at would a better metric for sexism be looking at sort of basically splitting the text in terms of like windows of like N words, so like say 5 words, and do you find like for example a word associated with a woman with a word associated with like violence, like do you find like those pairs of words within like when you split words like that, it's called an n-gram. Do they appear like in close proximity with each other? And I think that's probably like the most hopeful approach to find out like the person that has the most of those, my feeling is, probably is like the most like sexist artist. But this is like super depressing. Like I've been working on this like for the past couple of weeks, and I basically took a break because I got super depressed just compiling the list of words. So just like this is literally like my actual code that I've like started on. And it's just like I'm reading through all these like super violent lyrics to find like disparaging words for women, like, and then violent words. And I left out the sample lyrics that this is from because it's even worse. So like choke, dead, beat, bleed, like it's just worse. So I'm kind of like doing it gradually because it's just like too much of a gazing into the abyss, just like really a bummer. So that's like the work I've done on this so far. And then the last questions I have are that I'm interested in exploring is like, does sexism get better or worse over time, like with rap? Like was it kind of better in the beginning and now it's like gotten worse, which a lot of people say, but that's kind of a hip hop thing where people say, it was always better before and now it like sucks. Like, that's just like a general like theme people have. Or does it like correlate with the rise of gangster rap? So for example, people have noticed that street harassment of women correlates very strongly with police harassment of men. And so like in neighborhoods where police are doing like stop and frisk and things like that, what often happens is men feel really powerless, and how they go about getting a feeling of power back is then they go and like harass women in their neighborhood. So that suggests that maybe, like, since gangster rap is kind of talking about this phenomenon at a community level, it suggests that maybe that might like correlate with sexism in rap, right? Or does it kind of correlate with club-oriented rap, like this very like Make It Rain, like Rack City, like strip club anthem kind of rap, where it's like very consumeristic and it's very, you know, here's my like awesome car, here's my expensive alcohol, here's like my hot women. Does it correlate with that kind of rap? So I'm kind of curious about exploring that as well. And thanks. So that's pretty much my talk. I'm not taking Q&A for this talk, but I'm happy to talk about things individually with anyone after the talk, either like right now or after the conference. And I just want to say thanks to my friends Julie Evans and David Williver for their help in preparing this talk. And this is finally some hip hop that is like actually very positive towards women. So I'm just leaving you with this quote. Thank you very much.